So I'm starting off the session now. It's 11.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to join us at this information session today. We, the team at BNet Learning, we appreciate you and we are delighted to have you here today. At BNet Learning, we don't just train, we coach and we mentor. My name is Chineye Umunna, Director of Finance here at BNet Learning, and I am honored to be your host for this information session. I am particularly excited about PMP because it's not just a skill in demand, but it also has varied roles and applications which are useful in other areas of our lives. On your screen at the moment, you can see our agenda for this information session. And the first thing we have on our agenda is the welcome and introductions, which we are doing at the moment. And then we have the presentation, acing the Pmp Certification exam. We have project management simplified, key qualities of project manager, the certifications that we have in project management, the Pmi Project Management Professional Credential. We have the 2021 PMP exam breakdown, the BNet Learning PMP Certification Bootcamp, the BNet Learning Advantage, keys to acing the PMP Certification exam. All of this and other questions will be answered in the course of the presentation. So we're going to go on this learning journey. We're going to go on this journey of learning together. But before we do that, I'd just like to mention a few housekeeping rules. The first one is that all participants will be muted throughout this information session. However, because this is an interactive session, we want to hear from you. We want to know your thoughts. We want to have your comments. Please feel free to use the chat room for your comments. You can use the Q&A session for the questions that you have. As you can see in the agenda, there'll be a time for us to answer your questions. So please feel free to write out your questions, type out your questions in the Q&A section. Right now, I would like us to go into the chat room and do a brief introduction of ourselves, okay? So you can just tell us your name. You can tell us your name, your preferred name too, if you'd want to. And you can tell us the city and the country that you're joining us from. And you can tell us why project management. What is it about project management that excites you so much? So let's go to the chat room and do a brief introduction. So just tell us your name. Tell us where you're joining us from, the city, the country, and tell us what interest you so much about project management. Okay, so we can go ahead and do that in the chat room. Okay, while we do that, while we keep the intros coming, I'll just go ahead and introduce our facilitator for today. Okay, he's an interesting person and he's someone that you would want to connect with after today. He's the Director of Growth and Marketing here at BNet Learning. He has a master's in innovation and economics. He's a coach and a mentor. He loves music and he loves football. His name is James Adebayo. Everyone, let's give a virtual clap as we welcome our facilitator for this info session, James Adebayo. You can take it from here, James.
Thank you so very much, Chinai, and I'm grateful for the introduction. Whatever we've achieved, whatever the success we have, it's all by measure of grace, and I am so grateful. It's often said that it's a community that raised up a child, and I see myself as one that have been raised by a lot of people, and helped along the journey. So I am delighted to be part of this information session. And to have the opportunity to share some insight around project management, and indeed to help some of our folks who would like to secure their Pmp certification. So I am delighted to be part of this, and I want to really say thank you to BNet Learning for making this happen. All right, we'll just jump right into the presentation because indeed it's a lot to really digest today. It's a lot to go through, and I really want to be respectful of time, and to be sure that we could go through all of the slide deck, and of course get to the point where we have questions and answers. One thing that I want to really point out as we go into the presentation today is whether it's that you've been a project manager for a long time, you are a senior project manager, a program manager, a portfolio manager, regardless of where you are along the journey, whether you're just starting, there is something for you in this presentation. And I really want you to stay connected, stay focused, stay engaged. Please keep your comments, your chat coming through. I see from the chat box that we have Laura from California, USA. I'm glad to have you, Laura. We also have Faith, we have Lizzie joining, and please feel free. We have quite a number of attendees on the call. Please feel free to send in where you're joining us from and really what you're looking for and exploring around the project management space. All right, going into the presentation, some of the areas we will touch on today will be around project, program, and portfolio management. But we'll look at change management and the interdependencies or the alignment between change management and project management. And then we quickly dive into project management certifications, what you require or need to be able to write the PMP exam, looking at the revised Pmp certification. What does that look like? We know at the beginning of 2021, PMI introduced quite a number of changes to the Pmp exam. And so we're going to be looking at some of those in this presentation today. And then we look at Waterfall versus Agile. Is it actually Waterfall versus Agile, or is it Waterfall and Agile? And then we'll wrap up the presentation, sharing with you 5 keys to acing the Pmp certification exam. So you want to really, be part of this this presentation from beginning to the end, because it's really at the end that I will share those 5 keys with us regarding how we can ace the Pmp certification exam. I really want us to start off this this discourse by looking at 2 key words if we're talking about PMP and project management and certifications and acing the exam, we need to really start from the foundation of it. What is project management? And I want to really simplify this because I think it's important for us to understand what it is, not just a classroom definition, but a definition that we can embrace as we progress on our project management journey. Two keywords, project and management. Of course, there are elements to project. The first being that project is usually time bound. So you can't continue project and say, oh, I'm doing this project forever. No, there's always a time restriction or limitation or constraint on project. And it's not just time that is the constraint. We also have constraints when it comes to resource, whether be it money, be it people. There's always a constraint regarding resource. And of course, the time-bound nature of project speaks to its temporary nature. Projects are often temporary. You can't continue to do project forever. Project must be planned, project must be executed, it must be controlled. And no matter how much we engage machines and tools and technology, at the end of the day, project is delivered by people. The people angle to project is very important. Just taking a quote from Pmi, Pmi defines a project as a temporary endeavor, looking at the time, looking at the temporary nature of project, and is undertaken to create a unique product, a unique service, or a unique value. So let me ask you, a lot of us, we've done something around project in our personal life. For example, many of us had made a purchase of a car or a house, or we've desired to go to the university to secure a bachelor's degree or a master's degree. We didn't just go to school and stay in school forever. We were in school for a number of years. We got what we needed and we left school. And so that really tweaks the understanding of what project really is. The second angle of that is, of course, management. And the key element of management is around processes. So you are not just executing project, but you are also delivering project based on well-known process. PMI says the reason why projects fail often is because there is no structured way of delivering project. And so within this space, management speaks to you being able to plan, being able to budget what is the cost, being able to break down, the elements of the project into smaller structures, into what we call the work breakdown structure, into planning for resource and performance measurement. And I really like the definition that Carter put across in defining what management is. And so let's bring all of those together, project and management. What does that mean within an organization? What does that really truly mean? Project management within an organization is really the fulcrum of what takes us from our current state to a future state. It is either in portfolios or programs or individual projects that support the delivery of vision, mission, or of an organizational objective. So we have to begin to think of project in that context. Some of us are project managers already. Do we truly understand what our project is to deliver based on the vision or mission or objective of that organization? Yes, we want to grow our business, but then we're doing a sort of advertisement or campaign to help grow our business. Do we really understand the nuances, the variables, the metrics that our program, our portfolio, our project delivers in support of our vision, mission, and objective? So project management is always helping us to move from a current state to a future state. And within that context, there are a number of change management that always comes to play. So understanding what project management is, what then is the why of project? What drives the need for project? The first is projects are often deployed to drive change. We want to change something. I have a bachelor's degree. I'm looking forward to securing a master's degree. That's a change within an organization. It might be to transform the business from one state to another. It might be that, oh, we run our business based on regions. Now we're looking at deploying our business based on lines of businesses. It might be we want to grow our business. It might be that we've acquired a business and we want to merge that business. So it is very important for us to understand the why, and within that context, to drive change. The next why that I will speak to is to enable business value. You're an entrepreneur, you're looking at new market opportunities. Which other markets can I, explore, to further enhance my product delivery? Or it might simply be a response to some activities by competition within that space. Or it might be, as we know today, that the world is a global market space. So I am able to make purchases and transactions here from Canada, from someone who resides in India, from someone who resides in Nigeria, wherever, because our market is interconnected. We do projects sometimes just to respond to decreasing profit margin. I'm losing money as a business person or as an organization. And so we want to quickly enable business value to ensure that we can deliver what we've promised to our various stakeholders. And then the final why that I want to touch on is then to solve business challenges. We engage in projects to be able to solve problems. Those problems might be along the lines of technology changes. It might be along the lines of environmental factors, regulatory factors, or legal requirement, but we often engage on a project to be able to solve business challenges. And so we know what a project is. We understand what project management brings to an organization in driving change. What then is the role of a project manager in all of this? A project manager, I would say, is a change agent. An organization has a vision of moving from a current state to a future state. They engage in a number of portfolios, programs, and projects, but then they do need a project manager to be able to deliver that change. And so for anyone within the project management space, a project manager, a senior project manager, we have to always see ourselves as a change agent. Besides that, project manager oftentimes is like that orchestra conductor who stays in front of a large group of people playing different instruments, whether the cello, whether the trombone, whether the trumpet, but the conductor is not playing an instrument. The conductor is there to motivate the orchestra to deliver on a great piece. So project managers are really not the one doing the work, but they need to motivate the workforce to deliver results. So oftentimes project managers need to get the buy-in from the people that will deliver the work. Project managers also inspire change through results, meaning sometimes you have to understand that not everybody will buy into the vision of your work. And so you have to identify those that you can work with as champions, and then show those who are reluctant to come along with you on the journey, to show them results and to win them over. And so project managers must inspire people, even when they think, oh, this work is too difficult. Oh, this work, I can't do this. I can't work with this. I can't deliver this. That project managers are always inspiring people. Can I help you? What else can I help you do? Those are the elements of things that the project manager must bring. And the final one I want to touch on is project managers are often certified to manage projects. And I need to break this down. The element of certification falls into two buckets. The first bucket is those that are certified based on their job profile. So I work within an organization, my designation or my job responsibility is akin to project management. I do not have any certification, any external certification, but every day, my job work profile is along the lines of project management. I remember working with Siemens in Denmark, and for Siemens at that time, it was not important for you to have whether Prince 2, whether PMP, or any of those certifications. They put more value in the internal training that they offer. There's a special training within Siemens called PM at Siemens. It's a very coveted, training, quite expensive training, but that's the training that organization see as being valuable to them. Some of us are probably within the project management space for a long time, and we know about project, and we deliver a project for our organization. We are equally project managers. And for some, is actually those external certification that they have the Prince 2, they have the PMP, and so they are certified by an external certifying body as project managers. All right, going along. What then will make you stand out amongst the crowd? What is the thing? Everybody can be a project manager, but how can I be that 5% percentile, the one that everyone would like to work with, and with the assurance that this person can deliver on project? The differentiator to me, I have looked at the life of Mahatma Gandhi and some of the things that his life represented, and used it as a guiding principle in what I've presented here today. I know some of us won't ever think Mahatma Gandhi is a project manager, but from my perspective, I think he is, because he was a change agent. He made a whole lot of difference in the life of people. So we can look at his life and say, what does he bring? Number one, self-belief. For you to be a standout project manager, you have to have that self-belief, the belief that you have something to offer your organization, the belief that there is a value that you bring, the belief that you can help your organization move from their current state to a future state. The differentiator, never stop learning. A project manager who truly wants to stand out must continue to learn. And I am grateful for everyone on this call today who are taking the time to join. Whether you are a senior project manager, junior project manager, or aspiring project manager, we have to continue to learn. Things are changing, things are evolving. And the more we learn, the better we become. Information is power, but knowledge empowers. Project managers are often great communicators. To really stand out amongst the crowd, you must be able to communicate the why, the vision of the project. And communication is not a one-way street, it's a two-way. Not just being able to communicate, but being able to receive feedback from the project team and from every stakeholder within your project and work with them as a team. Walk the talk. The top percentile of project managers must be able to lead and lead by example. You know, the stand-up is at 9 a.m. You don't want to be there at 9:05. You want to be there on time. You want to show that the project is important for you and model the change that you want to see. Walk the talk. And finally, the top project managers must be those that deliver results. I did all my best. I tried. I spent time. I worked with the team. But at the end of the day, is the result that we provide, is the value that we provide the organization, is the KPIs. And it's ensuring that we indeed take our organization from where they are to where they want to be. Why project managers fail? And I want us to be really, really cognizant of this, because I did not put why project fail. I said why project managers fail. And I've titled this the iceberg syndrome, because oftentimes what we see is the 5% on top of the water, and we fail to see the 95% of what is under the water that is actually driving the result. Oftentimes, I hear project manager says, I couldn't do the work, or I couldn't get the work done because the team didn't deliver. And because they report to a different manager, I have no authority or capacity to make any change. But if you look at this diagram here, the real problem is the one under the water, the lack of training in communication, interpersonal skill, how you can motivate people for change. And the top layer of that is then the lack of understanding of how project management should work. So whether you've been a project manager for long, whether you are just an aspiring project manager, I want you to think about that. How do you communicate within your project? And do you truly have those skills that enable change? And the top layer of that is, do you have the required tools in your toolkit to be able to deliver that project? Some projects are better delivered by the Agile approach or framework, while some really require those upfront planning in the traditional project approach. Do you have all of those tools in your toolkit? Somebody once told me, as we discussed, they said, you have to be able to influence without authority, influencing people even when you don't have the authority to do that, by your action, by your knowledge, and by the value that you provide. All right, we've gone through some initial discussion around project management, the role of a project manager, and why project manager fail. I would like you to put in comment, questions, responses, if we have any, and Chinonye, if you have questions, please kindly interject me and we can answer some of those questions today. But of course, if there's any comment or questions, please keep them coming and we'll be able to take those as I go through the presentation. All right. It's important also to state that there are a number of project management certifications beyond the PMP, and we wanted to ensure that we're providing this transparency even as we present this. Of course, we have the ILX group that offers the Prince 2 certification, both at the foundation now level and the practitioner level. And of course, we have the Global Association for Quality Management that offers Associate Project Management Certification, Professionals in Project Management, and Director in Project Management Certification. We have the Business Value, we have the BVOP that also offers certification within the project management space. We have the International Association of Project Managers also offering certification. Of course, we know about the Scrum Alliance, Scrum Study offering the Agile certification. And for us in this presentation, we will really go deep dive into the Project Management Institute certification of the PMP. But just to touch on the fact that there are many other certifications within this space than the PMP. All right, just running through, talking now specifically to PMI. PMI started off in 1969, headquartered in Philadelphia, the United States. It's really advocating best practices in project, program, and portfolio management. Is to say, let's put out processes and structures that will really help us to deliver on projects. And of course, we have over 650 members. And on the PMP side alone, we have over 1 million credential holder in more than holders in more than 195 countries of the world. Just running through the PMI credentials, we have, of course, the certified associate in project management, say PM. We have the project management professional, the PMP. We have the PMI RMP. That's a certification around risk management. We have the PMI SP, that is around scheduling professional. We have the program management professional. We have the portfolio management professional. And of course, we have the newer certification in the Agile practitioner certification. And in fact, PMI also offers certification within the business analysis space. So there are a number of certifications that PMI do offer. The guiding book, or allow me to say the Bible or the Quran as offered by PMI, is the PM book. The PM book is the project management book of knowledge that guides project managers in project deployment. I wanted to talk about this, and it was something I mentioned about the differentiator, about learning and giving yourself to learning and constant learning. Even the Bible for project management or the Quran for project management is often changing. And that is based on changes within the project management space. And so in this slide, it shows how the PM book had evolved since the first in 1996 to the 6th edition that was released in 2017, and indeed to the 7th edition that will be released later this year. So there's always the element of change. Nothing is constant in life. So even the PM book continues to upgrade and improve and release different editions in response to changes within the project management space. So what does it take really to write the PMP exam? How do I qualify to write the PMP exam? Secondary degree, secondary school degree, or high school diploma, or whatever that looks like. If that's what you have, then you would need a minimum of 5 years experience within the project management space. So you must be leading project for at least a period of 5 years if what you have is a diploma or a secondary school degree. For those with a bachelor's degree, a 4-year bachelor's degree, you then need about 3 years of project management experience to be able to qualify to write the PMP exam. There are certain degree or postgraduate degree program that are approved by PMI. And so if that's your bachelor's or postgraduate degree, then what you would require is a 2-year, 24-month of professional project management experience. Regardless of whether you have a secondary school degree and 5 years of experience within the project management space, or you have a 4-year degree with a 3-year non-overlapping professional project management experience, or you have a bachelor's or a postgraduate degree accredited by PMI and a 2-year work experience, you would still require a 35-hour professional training, project management training, to be able to write or qualify to write the PMP exam. So regardless of where you fit in this box, you still require that 35 hours of training, of project management training, to be able to qualify to write the PMP exam. But talk about the experience and how to calculate your experience. And PMI said it must be non-overlapping, meaning that if I run 2 projects in a year, project 1 and project 2, or project A and project B in one singular year, I can only report 1 year on that project. So it must be a non-overlapping project management experience. In the slide here, I put out 2 projects. One project that commenced in January and wrapped up in April, and that qualifies for 4 months. But within that period of time, I started off another project from February that wrapped up in June. I am unable to report anything on my project 2 between February and April, because I would report on project 1. But then I'm able to report on project 2 commencing from the end of April to June, because then that's the only project I'm reporting on. So for project 1 and project 2, you can only have a total of 6 month experience reported within that period of time. And then, of course, from July to November, you then have that unique project 3 that you can report on as your project management experience. Of course, for anybody who would like to write the PMP exam, you would then have to go onto the PMI website, pmi.org, to be able to submit your application. There's a membership fee of $129 US dollars. There's also a cost to writing the exam for non-members. That's about $555. And for members, that's about $405 to be able to write the exam. Putting in your application, there's also the possibility that your application could be randomly picked for an audit. An audit is nothing to be afraid of. An audit is just to verify that your experience as claimed is legitimate, that your experience as claimed is valid. And so there's a process of audit that you go through, and these are some of the things that we'll touch on during the BNet PMP bootcamp. So there's nothing to be afraid of about audit. It's just ensuring that you dot your I's and cross your T's in your application. And of course, there's always guidance by us if you need support to ensure that you put in a good application. All right. We touched on the fact that you do require a number of years as leading project to be able to write the PMP certification exam. But for some, we're just starting off. We've not had that experience, managing project, but we want to transition probably as a business analyst, probably as a data analyst, or whatever space that we run into the project management space. And so there is a CAPM certification that do not require any project management experience that you can still engage with. And all you need to do that, it's just the 23 hours of project management education, which the BNet PMP bootcamp will satisfy. And then, of course, with your secondary school education, your bachelor's degree, you will be able to write the CAPM certification exam. So don't give up that you don't have either the 36, 24, or 5-year experience within the project management space. There's always an opportunity to start that journey through CAPM. And then as you get your project management experience, you can then write the PMP certification exam. All right. The PMP revised exam structure, what does that look like? Number one, the exam before now used to be 200 questions. Now in the revised exam structure is 180 questions. Out of that 180 questions, 175 of those questions truly count for your result or into your result. 5 of those questions are almost like a test run questions that are called seeded questions that PMI would put along with those questions to really have a feel of, is that question, people really understanding the structure of those questions? Is that question sufficient? Are people passing, getting the question wrong? Do we need to tweak that question for future purposes? So we have those 5 seeded questions that PMI put into the PMP exam as test questions. And those questions do not count to our final result. The PMP exam is about 230 minutes, just a little shy of 4 hours, but then you'll be able to take 2 breaks in between during that exam. The new PMP exam had moved from the 10 knowledge areas to 3 domains. So we no longer have the separation into knowledge areas, but now we have the separation into 3 domains. Also, it has moved from a multiple choice question type to multiple questions, multiple variant questions. So you have, of course, the multiple choice questions of you selecting between A, B, C, and D, the right answer. But it's also moved into drag and drop kind of questions where you have, probably 4 questions, questions with 4 answers, and you are asked to arrange them in order. Or you have one that is like a graph, and you are asked to choose, on a curve or on a graph. So it's not just an A, B, C, D kind of question. You have multiple questions now within the PMP certification exam. And of course, there's always need to understand, what do I need to be able to pass? You're still looking at about 60 and over, 62 and over as minimum pass for the exam. And the final tweak, and probably the most important tweak to the PMP certification exam, is then that this exam is not just based on a traditional approach to project deployment, but there are elements of Agile now in the PMP revised exam structure. So anyone seeking to write this exam, you must then have both knowledge of the traditional Waterfall project management framework, and also the Agile approach to project deployment. Looking at the PMP revised exam domain, what are these? The first is the people. Now with PMI is saying in deploying project, we have to look at project from a people standpoint. And within the PMP certification exam, we are looking at about 42% of the questions to be around people. Those 42 questions is divided into 14 tasks. And some of those tasks are manage conflict. How do you lead a team? How do you support team performance? And so on and so forth, all around people. And these tasks also are broken down into smaller layers of enablers. What enables you to be able to manage conflict? The second bucket of the revised domain, of the revised structure in the domain, is the process. Now, PMI is saying in deploying projects, whether be it at the traditional Agile, we need to consider processes. And questions within the revised exam structure will be looking at about 50% of the questions to be around processes. And within that, it's about 17 tasks that are specific under the process domain. So it's looking at how do you manage communication? How do you manage project artifacts? How do you manage project change? And so on and so forth. And the final bucket within the domain is business environment. What does that look like? We have 8% of the questions within the 180 questions to be around the business environment. And that will lead to about 4 tasks, which will include plan and manage project compliance. How do you support organizational change? So these are some and this is very important because we have to understand what the domain look like and to understand and embrace them. And whatever training that we're going for, that those trainings address, the domains and the revised nature of the PMP exam. All right, I have just 5 minutes to wrap this up, so let's just run to wrap this up. I mentioned something around having multiple tools in our toolbox. Before now, the PMP exam had been solely based on the traditional waterfall approach. And so what does that mean versus what the Agile approach means? Because now in the revised exam structure, we have elements of Agile in the exam. Waterfall, it's detailed, it's long-term project plan with single timeline. So Waterfall is always detailed in his approach, in his planning. We want to sit down and ensure that we have a detailed plan to support deployment. But in Agile, we say we have shorter planning period that we call sprints, where we plan and say, okay, what are we going to deliver within this period of time? And it's done in iterations and multiple deliveries. For Waterfall, it's a definite and rigid project management and team roles. So, this person is delivering this person is within this functional unit, this person is this resource of my project, and it's really, really rigid. It's lined up in the way it should be, and there are no changes to it. But on the other side, on the Agile approach, there's a flexible cross-functional team composition. So people work together, not based on lines of function. I'm in finance and I'm accounting, and I do my thing as finance and accounting. But in Agile, we have cross-functional team where people are working together, though might be delivering different elements of that, but they are working as one team. All right. The final thing I want to touch, waterfall versus agile, is the linear approach to delivering project. So within the waterfall approach, we know we have the initiation phase, and then we finish that, we move to the planning phase, and then we move to the execution phase, to the monitoring and controlling phase, and to close up the project. But within the agile space, we're looking at iterations. How can we move around the sprints and circles and plan and do and execute and plan and deliver, which is a little different for the traditional approach, because the traditional approach will say you have to do everything in blocks, finish planning, then move to the next one, and then move to the next one. But within the agile approach is more a coherent approach, seeking to reduce dependencies. All right. So as we wrap this up, within the Pmp certification exam, it's all about an hybrid approach. It's no longer, oh, I am a waterfall project manager. No, I am an agile project manager. It is now important for us to have both the waterfall knowledge and the agile knowledge, because that's really what the exam demands of us. Waterfall and agile then creates that hybrid approach to project management. Yes, agile emphasizes on people, while waterfall emphasizes on processes, but we have to be able to balance it. Some projects will require that we have those processes, very tight process. In construction, you want to have that blocks of planning to deployment, or else you will not be able to deliver the project. While in software deployment or development, you can go through iterations and rely more on the people to bring the ideas into the project. Agile says, documentation, is as required, while Waterfall says you need a comprehensive documentation. What's your project plan? What's the requirement plan? What's the communication plan? But we cannot say that those documentation are not required. In fact, some projects by regulation requires them to be produced. My final word on this hybrid approach is we can no longer say we are one, we choose and picking. We must embrace both waterfall and the agile approach to project deployment. It must be both, that we train ourselves and be able, based on the need of the project, to deploy either or both of this framework. The benefit of the PMI certification, of course, we become part of a word of community of PMPs. We spoke earlier that we have about 195 countries that with bucket of project managers in that country, representing over 1,000 certification holders across those 195 countries. So as you get into this and become certified, you are then part of that global community of project manager. And of course, I did mention that there are other certifications offered by PMI. And so as part of PMI community, you can also save on some of those certifications. PMI also provide access to tools and resources that are only available to members, to certified members. So as you become certified, you have access to a lot of tools, template, and resources that will help you deliver on your project. And of course, finally, there is this personal and professional recognition. There is always a pride with the PMP certification. All right, I'll just quickly touch on the BNet PMP certification bootcamp that is kickstarting in May. So for as many people will want or probably want to start their journey or want to learn more about the new PMP certification exam structure. We have a boot camp starting off in May. It will be in the weekends. All you need, because it's virtual, is a laptop or a desktop. It's going to be hands-on training. So it's not just, the theory of it. We're also going to be sharing a lot of hands-on experience sharing with you. It's going to be open class, so people are able to ask questions regardless of whether you are a senior project manager or just starting off the journey. And also we understand that sometimes in open class, some might be a little shy to ask those questions, that we also provide an avenue for one-on-one training where people can also ask the facilitator, the trainer questions on a one-on-one basis. The advantage of participating and work and engaging with BNet is that we don't just train, we coach and we mentor. Within the BNet faculty, we have world-class and experienced trainers that would support you to secure your certification. The content for our training are rich and world-class. And we also provide practice resources, practice materials, simulation questions to enable you pass at first sitting. We also support our candidates and students with the PMI application process. So we don't just leave you go sort it out yourself. We also help you to put together a solid application that will be able to go through without audit. And if at all your application is picked for an audit, we also can support you through that process. And of course, for BNet learning, it's about mentorship, it's about coaching. And so we offer this long-term career mentorship in BNet learning, that even after you get certified, that we can help you as you seek to get new positions, as you seek to transition in your role. And that goes into resume. How can I put together my resume to be able to get the best jobs? We help you do that. And what are those questions that you can anticipate in an interview? All of those BNet learning do offer. And finally, to wrap up my presentation today, I just want to speak to 5 keys to acing the PMP certification exam. We've spoken about what project management is. We've spoken about what the exam looks like, about the 3 domains of people, process, and business environment. We've spoken about the BNet PMP bootcamp starting up in May. I believe it's starting up in May 15th. I encourage you to be part of that. We've spoken about Waterfall and Agile. We've spoken about the fact that you cannot pick and choose. It must be both Waterfall and Agile. You have to embrace that hybrid approach. But what keys do I need to be able to really pass that exam? The first element is you make it a project. Passing the PMP certification exam, you have to make it a project. One, making it a project in understanding the reason why you are writing or doing the certification, because it's going to take a lot of sacrifice. And if you do not truly understand the why of your project, now in this case, the PMP certification exam, you might get discouraged and just leave it and just say, I can't do this anymore. So make it a project by understanding the why and always reminding yourself the why of that project. The second element of making it a project is also understanding that you need to commit resource to it. We spoke about project, there's always a constraint of resource. You know that you don't have unlimited resource to write the exam. And so how can you plan your resource in paying for the bootcamp, in paying for the exam, in getting simulation questions? You have to align your resource to be able to write the Pmp certification exam. And the final element of making a project is time. Are you looking at doing this in the next 3 months? Are you looking at doing it in the next 6 months? It's really up to you to decide on that. The second key to acing the Pmp certification exam is you need to have a plan. You need to have a plan. What's your study plan, for example? Are you going to be studying every night, 2 hours every day, and more in the weekend? You have to have a plan, and not just having a plan, executing that plan. A plan is as good as nothing if it's not executed. So you have to have a plan. The one thing about plan is plan often make us feel guilty when we don't follow them. And so, don't beat yourself down that, oh, my plan is to always study 2 hours every day and I fail it. Make sure you are able to adjust your plan as your life also evolves. The third key is you need to fill the knowledge gap. What am I missing in passing my exam? What knowledge areas am I lacking at? And that's where BNet Pmp Certification Bootcamp comes to help you. Because in the bootcamp, you don't need to make the same mistakes others have made. That training will help you understand what you need to do to be able to pass the exam. It will help you with the knowledge base required to be able to ace that exam. Fill the knowledge gap. And that starts with an evaluation of self. Where am I in this journey? What am I missing? And be sincere to yourself in that, and ensure that you embrace learning and trainings that will help you deliver. The penultimate point here is you need to go on the field. You can be in class and learn everything. You can have a plan and study every day, but if you do not practice, then you have not achieved anything. A footballer can learn the tactics of football in a room, but until he gets to the field, he can't really learn how to play football. And so embrace simulation questions, practice questions. Take the time to go through practice questions, practice, practice, and practice again, because that's really the time you begin to build confidence and understand what the exam structure is and be able to prepare well before your exam. The final point here is do it afraid. There's always an element of fear when it comes to exam. Everybody, no matter how intelligent you are, no matter how smart you are, there's always an element of fear. Will I pass? Will I not? Why do you need to ask, will I pass? Why not? Why won't I pass? The mindset of still doing it afraid is very important. Don't push it out too long. Don't push it out forever. Don't say, I will get there when I get there. Do it, and do it whether you are afraid. Do it against all odds. Do it against whatever challenge, whether your company is paying for it, whether you are paying it for it yourself. Do it regardless. I remember a saying by a friend of mine who said, I would rather do it when I don't need it than not have it when I need it. Most often, we feel like, do I really need it? But the answer is you never know. So ensure that you do it, even when you think you don't need it, so that when indeed you need it, you have it. That's my presentation today, and I want to thank you for listening. I hope that, making it a project, have a plan, fill the knowledge gap, practice, simulation, and do it will really help you to ace the Pmp certification exam. Thank you everyone for listening. And Chinaye, I will open up to as many questions that we have today.
Thank you so much, James. That was informative. There were so many highlights for me. I hope that we're all taking notes. I took some notes. When James talked about information, he said information is power, but knowledge empowers. That struck me. And when he talked about a plan is as good as nothing, if it's not executed. So it's not enough for us to make plans. We have to execute those plans. As project managers, we have to walk the talk and deliver results. Thank you so much, James. I have a hand up. MP, I have a hand up, MP, and we're going to unmute you shortly, MP, so you can ask your question. Can we unmute MP, please, so we can take his or her question? MP, go ahead, please. Hello, MP, are you there? Okay, I don't think MP is there at the moment. So I'll just take this question that we have in the Q&A section. James, the question is, what is a good strategy for studying and the length of time to budget for the studying? So if I want to write the exams, what is a good strategy for studying and the length of time to budget for studying? James.
I really like that question. And in the second point, I said, have a plan. You have to evaluate your lifestyle. You have to evaluate, what the situation around you. For some people, they work all night. You can't expect them to read at night. For some people, their work is in the weekend, so they can't be part of a training in the weekend. So the first comment from me on that is you have to evaluate your lifestyle. What works for you? What works for you might not work for me. So you have to look at the nuance of your life and say, you know what, this is me. I read, I learn better at night. I want to have a plan that will tell me, wake up 2 a.m. every night and read till 4, go back to bed, and that will work for me. That's the first point. The second point I want to mention is, it's really difficult to say, do this in 1 month or do this in 1 year. It has to go back to, why are you doing the certification itself? If you truly need it to scale up your position in your organization, then you don't want to leave it for so long. I would say, from a personal point of view, it should be something you can nail down in 3 months. Take it as a project. 3 months, sacrifice that time at your friend's party, sacrifice that time to go out and have fun, just sacrifice it and get it done and move forward. You can only write the PMP exam at once if you are able to pass at once. So put the energy in, maximum 3 months, come for the boot camp, which is about 4 or 5 weeks, another practice session, another couple of weeks, and just go for it. Nothing more than 3 months, I would say. But at the end of the day, it depends on really the individual lifestyle and what surrounds their personal lives.
Thank you so much, James, for that response. And so an added question to the first question. So how far back in time can one go to get the years of experience? So when you talked about certification, you talked about educational experience, background, and then the years of PM experience. So this question is, how far back in time can one go to get it? 5 years, 10 years, or there are no limits?
I believe PMI says you could go back 10 years. So the last
10 years.
Not in the last 10 years. So you would be able to pull back your experience regardless of how far back, at least for the last 10 years.
10 years, fantastic.
Yes.
Thank you so much, James. That's all the question that we have in the Q&A. Okay, Scott says thank you for both answers. Both questions are from Scott, and he says thank you for the answers. Thank you so much. Okay, so I have a question here from Bumigel. Bumigel is asking, is it advisable for a corporate salesperson working in an insurance industry to get certified in PMP? Is it advisable for a corporate salesperson working in an insurance industry to get certified in PMP? James.
I would say, regardless of that, regardless of the industry, regardless of the sector, project management is relevant, because organizations are constantly moving from a current state to a future state. That's number one. Number two, yes, you might not need it now. In my final remarks, I said, do it even when you don't need it, because you don't know when you will need it. And so you are not struggling and crying to say, oh, if I did my PMP at that time, I would have been able to get that role. So my advice would be, do it, even if it's not relevant for your existing industry. You never know the opportunities that will open up in the next couple of months, next couple of years, that it's only someone with that PMP that organization would take. So regardless of the fact that it's relevant currently for you, still go ahead and do it if it's something that you are interested in.
Thank you so much, James. So if it's something that you're interested in, just go ahead and do it, okay? If anyone has any questions, please feel free to type it in the chat box or in the Q&A section, or, okay, I have a hand up. Ade Damola Oshuntoki. Ade Damola, you just brought your hand down. Would you still like to ask your question? Oh yes, can we unmute Ade Damola, please? Go ahead, Ade Damola. Are you there, Ade Damola? Okay, go ahead, please. Yes,
yeah, we can hear you
now.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. James, for the insightful section. Thank you, Jen, for coordinating accordingly. I just wanted to find out, for those who are outside the shores of Nigeria, okay, for me, I currently relocated and I'm longing to do this while I was in Nigeria, but time never permitted me. And thank God I had this session that's made me to just think still it was doing that is all odds, like Mr. Jim has just said. I don't know if there are centers in Canada and Edmonton, I say in Alberta, Edmonton, Alberta, where one can take these classes. I know obviously classes due to the current situation of things, classes will be virtual now. I don't know if there are centers that one can probably enroll in, at least maybe centers from the home end that one can enroll in.
Awesome question, Adida Molan. Thank you for asking that. And I just put up this final page on the slide to really articulate next steps, and that will help answer the question you asked. So the BNet Bootcamp is actually a virtual PMP training bootcamp, meaning that regardless of where you are on the face of the earth, you will be able to join. So obviously, because of COVID and measures taken, we've revised our certification program to offer them online. So, and that's why I speak to, all you need to be able to be part of the training is a laptop. And that's all you need because it's virtual. And so what I would encourage everyone on the call who is seeking to be part of that PMP bootcamp coming up, starting off in May, is to send an email to info@bnetlearning.com. For everyone interested in enrolling in this bootcamp, kindly send an email to info@bnetlearning.com, and we'll be able to talk through what the cost is, when the training will start, whether you are in Nigeria or in Canada, what the cost will look like. But we can have all of those discussions one-on-one, as long as you send us an email, and we can set up a quick interaction with you. Does that answer your question, Adidamola?
Yes, it does. Thank you so much, Mr. James.
You're most welcome. Thank you. All right. I just want us to be respectful of time. I know we are a little bit past the time.
James, we have one final question for you, please.
Okay.
So
yeah,
this question says, hi, James. It's from Oluyemi. Please, what's the departure from PMP in 2012 compared to 2021? I did it then and failed. and I'm considering taking it again.
You know, I would say, please take it again. I would say, take it again, and I'm trusting God and praying that you will pass this time. The major departure is the fact that now it's not just traditional waterfall. PMP is not just about the traditional waterfall approach. Now it's on the agile side, so it's an hybrid of both waterfall and agile. I believe the way the exam structure is, it gives you to be able to read divergent materials, whether you are reading from the agile space or whether you are reading from the traditional space, that all of those knowledge can help you really pass the exam. Before now, those with Scrum certification and Agile certification can't really use that experience or knowledge within the PMP exam. But now they can do that because it's an hybrid. So that's one thing. The second thing I believe changed now is you can do the exam in your house. So you don't have to go to Proctor to do the exam in a center where you feel pressurized. You know, it's in, you know, check your hands, check your pocket. You can just sit in your room, in your house, wherever convenient for you. And just pass the exam online without going to an exam center. Those are the two basic changes that I think PMI had introduced. And I believe that, you know, if you put to play some of the keys I've shared today, you'll be able to pass the exam this time.
Thank you so much, James. And in addition to all that James has said, I would say this time, do your bootcamp with BNet Learning, because at BNet Learning, we don't just train you, we coach you and we mentor you. So yeah, that's it for me.
China, one thing that also was mentioned is in 2012, it was the 10, just like we said before, it was the 10 domains. It was, you know, scheduling, procurement, and all of that. But now it's 3 domains. It's for you to understand what it takes on the people side, understand what it takes on the process side, and understand what it takes on the business environment side. So you can really target your learning towards those 3 domains and really pass it this time. So that's it for me, Chinai.
Thank you so much, James. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for joining this information session. And thank you, James, for a wonderful time. Thank you for the presentation. Thank you for taking time to answer all the questions. So post next event, like James mentioned, as you can see on the screen, you can register for our upcoming PMP certification bootcamp and other trainings. The email address is on the chat box. Please feel free to send an email to that email address with any questions that you have, and we will get back to you with a response. You can also sign up for our one-on-one mentoring session. You can gain access to our free resources. Just let us know how we can be of help to you, and we are here to help you. Thank you so much for joining this information session. We hope to have you at future events and future information sessions. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.